Hello and welcome you lovely folks out there to the Cyberden, right here on Siren Radio with me, Jake the Voice. And, well, it looks like we've got another lovely guest right here on the Cyberden. Please welcome professional actor and sports commentator Wes Johnson, best known for his work in Bethesda's The Elder Scrolls and Fallout series. Thanks for coming, mate.
It's great to be here. How are you doing, Jake? And you're perfectly well advertised as the voice. I love that.
I'm doing well, and yeah, I got that name from one of the old bosses here at Siren. He came into the studio one day and said, "It's Jake the Voice," and I thought, I like that.
There's something about the whole timbre, the way you deliver the je ne sais quoi, something that says to me, "Can you hear me, Clem Fandango?"
I'd like to think that it's enough to either alert, frighten, get the attention of, or perhaps scare away, people, primarily women. That seems to be my love life in a nutshell.
It is lovely. It is lovely. It's lovely to be in your presence here today and to be on Siren Radio. Ask me anything, I may answer.
I shall. It's lovely to have you here especially. So what I'm going to do is fire your way the usual bread and butter question to start things off. What inspired you to enter the world of acting and voiceovers?
Well, voiceovers are really an extension of the acting, but the fact of the matter is when I was a kid and you'd listen to those old Warner Brothers cartoons and you'd hear Mel Blanc doing a million different voices, and then your mom and dad, when you're younger, give you the old style cassette recorder for the holidays, which of course, they eventually regret. But I would spend my time doing voices back and forth and making my own little radio shows from the time I was like 8 or 9, just had a blast doing that. And it wasn't like I was thinking I'm going to be a voice actor one day. It was just me thinking, I love this and this is fun. And if you could ever try to make yourself a living at something that brings joy to your heart, then you're going down the right path. I don't know if any of those characters, whether Sheogorath, Daedric Prince of Madness, or Lucian the Chance of the Dark Brotherhood, whether any of those were born back then. I think it was just Wes being wacky. And the same mentality I had that made me make weird Jerry Lewis faces in every family photo we ever did, much to the chagrin of my mother when she would put the family albums together. Is there one where you were serious? No, I don't think so. So, you follow your joy, you follow your heart. And as far as acting is concerned, for me, voice acting is an extension of that, Jake. It's a physical thing. It's facial. It's your posture. It's everything in your body you bring to the craft of acting. You're bringing to voice acting. It's just that you think, well, I don't see you doing it, but you know what? You do. The microphone hears the movement. Every move you make, every smile you make, every frown you make is reflected in the quality of the sound and the emotion that you give. So it's a full body exercise.
I gotta say, that was both descriptive and touchingly poetic with that description. I love it. That's perfect.
So for you, when did you first start to discover you had a voice? Did you pop out of the room and go, "Who are you slapping?" How did that work for you?
It may have gone that way, as far as I know. I think I might have told my late mother, I might have told her at least 1 year into my life, "Mother, I think it's time to bottle feed me now. It might be a wise idea." And that was when they got the priest in to throw holy water at me.
Truthfully, mothers know that it's time to stop the breastfeeding when the kid goes, "How you doing?" It's time. You've gone way too long. Way too long.
But with me, it's funny. It was roughly around the time when I actually joined Siren Radio, because basically I went to university, discovered there was a radio station here. I didn't think much of it at first, but a year in, and I met a good chum of mine at university, and he said, "You really should give that a try, Jake. Everyone's saying you got a great voice, and you do have a great voice. Get in there and get yourself on board." And I was like, do I? Why do people say that? I don't hear it, but all right, let's give it a try. And after repeated attempts just to be like, "Hey, I still exist. Is there anything radio-related you want I can do? I'll try anything." Then eventually they gave me a show, and then over time I snuck into the studio when no one was around to kind of practice with recordings, and eventually I sent out recordings, I chatted with other voice actors, they gave advice, they gave contacts, and kind of worked my way up the ladder that way, really. I think it was primarily more luck and
Well,
knowing the right
it's like you were
people.
bitten by the bug fairly early on as soon as you started doing it. The fact of the matter is, your regular voice that you normally use is the one you have from the time you're a kid, and you're practicing that every single day. You're getting used to the nuance and saying things and getting things to inflection. When you start to add different, ranges and things of that sort to your voice or try to make it do different things, you don't have the muscle memory yet. It's just practice, and the more you do, the better you get.
Well, that's true. That is true. With me, it was a lot of. I guess I watched a lot of certain shows, some British shows, a lot of American cartoons and stuff like that, and even playing Elder Scrolls, which we'll get to soon in the interview, rubbing off onto me as well with the voice and the diction when with me growing up and whatnot, and again it kind of just combined into some kind of unrecognizable sort of strange voice that people seem to compliment, and I stopped questioning it,
Right? It's the whatnot.
as I like to call it. Yes, but but anyway, firing it right back your way with a question. So,
All right.
would you say you've got any favourite actors? Anyone you might consider an inspiration?
Hmm. Well, I mean, there are people, like I said, Mel Blanc was one of the very early ones. You've got some of the great classic voice actors from the old days that you just were just so incredible. Paul Frees was an amazing voice actor, although you could recognize him in almost anything. Um, but what I started to get into, especially early on, when you talk about actors, people like, and this is funny, I should bring this actor up when we're talking about voice, but Lon Chaney, the original Lon Chaney. Nobody knows what Lon Chaney really looked like. The old silent film movie star, because he changed his appearance with every different thing. And that's, to me, when you get somebody who can come in and give you so many different voices and you're not certain that it's them each time, to me, that is an incredible feat. I have just, uh, as far as voice actors go, Mel Blanc is right up there to the top for me, but there's also people like more current guys like Mark Hamill, who's wonderful, and Maurice LaMarche. I love them. Rob Paulson. Those guys are all just fantastic. But I think of the actors that helped to form me as I was growing up, and I'd have to look to like Darren McGavin from the old Night Stalker and things of that sort, and look to the old TV shows where you had some of the late night horror hosts. I loved the late night horror hosts. For us, it was Count Gore Duvall, and he'd come on every week and show you the horror movies and the different things. And you've got people like Bela Lugosi, who was pretty much Bela Lugosi, but more Boris Karloff. Boris Karloff changed so much between every role he ever did, and would disappear into things. I just I love that the chameleon aspect of people, and it's a compliment I feel when somebody says, "I had no idea that that was you," when I've done a game. Or I've done different games. Recently, we did Starfield, which came out, and in Starfield I did a voice that was fairly reminiscent on purpose of the Imperial Guard that I'd done back in Oblivion. And it wasn't the same guy, but there was the same sort of timbre to the voice, that enough so that people recognized from the Imperial Guard. And you had people going, "Where have you been all this time?" And the fact of the matter, I've been here all this time. I've just been doing different characters that they don't know are me, which delights me to no end. So if you don't know that Shea Gorath is Lucian, which is also Mo Cronin from Diamond City, or the Protectron robots of the Silver Shroud, or Hermaeus Mora, if you don't know that these are all the different characters, or even Johannes Verlaine, who just recently came out in Elder Scrolls Online Gold Road, which is a character that people are saying, who is this voice actor? And that tickles me pink, that if they don't know it's me, but they know of me, so that, to me, what happens there is it's all about the character. And that's what I think is cool. It becomes about the character. You look at people like Ray Fiennes, who disappears into different roles, and you look at who would you say is another actor who completely is somebody different all the time?
I think it kind of varies where you look exactly. Like, I think a common pick these days would be someone like Matt Mercer.
So is that Matt brings such real authenticity and life to the characters, and that's huge. Matt believes, Matt embodies, Matt is a dungeon master. So he brings the same intensity that he brings into Critical Role and brings into those worlds. When he creates them, he lives and he breathes in them. And every character that he plays, he lives and breathes those characters 100%. He's not puppeting them from the outside. He's not watching his performance. He's living it. He's bringing it as part of his own experience, which I greatly admire. And frankly, Matt Mercer is one of the truly good human beings out there. So yeah, I'm couldn't be happier for him.
Always reassuring to know, of course. But of course, let's get it back to you, of course. I want to talk a bit more about your on-screen acting. So, and also some acting that you've been doing behind the microphones as well. You know, announcer work and whatnot. So, could you tell us before we delve into the world of video games in much greater detail? Could you tell us more about your kind of experiences in those early days, on-screen acting, the microphone acting, and a certain on-screen role that you loved, A Dirty Shame? Tell us more about that alongside.
John Waters, famous of Baltimore, of Hairspray and Pink Flamingos fame. I was got to be a member of one of his casts. Well, I played a character by the name of Fat Fuck Frank, who was a biker, and the biker was Selma Blair's boyfriend in an NC-17 film. Like that'll ever happen again. Turns out it was supposed to be an R-rated film, but they sent it to the review board the day after the Super Bowl, where Justin Timberlake pulled Janet Jackson's top off, and suddenly everybody got uptight. And so they slapped it with an NC-17. But I got a chance to work with Tracy Ullman in that film, and got a chance to work with Johnny Knoxville and Chris Isaac. And it was just, and work with all the Dreamlanders like Mink Stoll. Just a wonderful time. And I had a blast. In the TV version they made, I was known as Fat Freak Frank. Since then, I've lost about 200 pounds, and I look more like Shea Gorath than I do Triple F these days. And people, I attribute that to the fact that I got myself a staff of Shea Gorath, and it mantles you over time. So I guess I'm Fat Fit Frank now. But the film stuff has always been a fun thing for me. I've done stuff like The Wire, which was set in Baltimore. I've done that was Head of State. I recently filmed something called Sanctuary, which is hitting the film festivals right now. I did a Star Trek film called Farragut Forward, which is releasing this summer, and I got to play a Klingon with the walnut forehead and the entire thing. Going to be filming something called Mama Duck in July. And the difference between film and doing things in the video or in the box, in the booth, is really just a matter of whether the camera's on you. Sometimes when you're doing voice acting, you can take it large like you're on stage, or you can bring it down small like you're on film. You have all the options with video game voice acting, depending upon what you need to do and get across. I've done a lot of stage work, done a lot of improv work. I suggest anybody who wants to do any of these things, go do some improv, because it frees you up. It lets you see the world as where you say yes to every situation, and you add something as opposed to saying no, which will vapor lock you. We have so many things in this world that say no to us, Jake. So you might as well try to say yes. And since you have only one life to live, go for it. Dive off that bridge. Hope the bungee cord is tied. You've been tying it your whole life. Just jump.
Inspiring advice right there. I certainly hope anyone listening in, especially up-and-coming actors and voice actors, will do the same. And don't take my advice by sitting around and going, oh, was that thing that I was supposed to have a crack at? Oh, that was a week ago. I forgot all about it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you're saying up and inspiring voice actors, but again, take any acting job that comes, because work begets work, man. You started doing the radio. I bet you've had other offers and other things that are similar, but not quite the same, because you're in that field. I've done acting on film. I've done acting on television. I've done announcing for television. I was the announcer for America's Most Wanted for many years. I fought crime with my voice. I'd be the one saying, "Live from the Museum of Crime and Punishment, here's John Walsh." And I would do the announcing for the National Hot Rod Association. I've been the announcer for the Washington Capitals hockey team for the past 25 years, and I have a great big fat Stanley Cup championship ring to show for it. And I'll be honest to you, when I go out to the conventions, more people want to see the actual Wabajack that I carry as Sheogorath and my Stanley Cup ring than they want to see me.
If I was at one of those conventions, I'd make you feel a bit better for saying, I want to see you, Wes, and still have a quick glance at those things, but still primarily you, though.
Well, I've got my Andrew Ho with Gung Ho Bookings is trying to talk to some folks in the UK about bringing me out there at some point, and I'd love to come. So I hope I get a chance to hang out with you, Jake, and you'll show me around.
Absolutely, I'd gladly help out with that for sure. But anyway, speaking of course the Wabajack, let's jump right into talking about, for starters, let's focus on the Elder Scrolls games. You jumped in to Morrowind, and then, of course, the big one, Oblivion, with the Imperial Guards, the arena announcer, Lucian Lachance of the Dark Brotherhood, Sheogorath, Prince of Madness for the Shivering Isles, and then, when Skyrim came along, there was, of course, good old Sheogorath once again, and the return of Lucian Lachance, and
Well, Ghostlayer, the spectral assassin, let's say.
that's true. Okay, that's true. Yes, he was
Different generations, but like an assassin penny, he always comes back.
and then of course another god, Hermaeus Mora, and again that kind of trails into the Elder Scrolls Online. So, talking generally here about how did the kind of recording sessions go for when Bethesda says, "Hey Wes, get on board, let's get you voicing in an Elder Scrolls game, and another, and another. Tell us more about your experiences voicing all of these kind of characters."
Well, the first game I did voice was Morrowind, and that was done in downtown Washington, D.C. at a place called Absolute Pitch. Our engineer was a guy named Chip Ellinghouse, a wonderful guy who just, unfortunately, in this past week, we lost due to Parkinson's, and he was just the most wonderful human. And the voice director for those sessions was Todd Howard. And so we'd sit there and we'd go over the different things, and they showed me Susya Sergala, who was the only Breton I saw. So, and it was back during the days we were still doing the race voices. All the races had the same voice. So I guess there was a whole lot of inbreeding going on in Morrowind and Oblivion in the early days. But I got to play a number of the different Daedric princes in that one. I played the orcs. Anyone who sounded like Sean Connery, that was me. And it was a wonderful several days of coming into the booth, sitting in there, recording, going downstairs and talking about the characters with Todd, and going down. There was like an Obampan downstairs where we'd go get a little chocolate croissant and a coffee. And the thing is, Todd just loves the games. He loves what he does. And getting a chance to work with him hands-on then, you had no idea that Todd Howard would become Todd Howard, what everything he is, but he hasn't changed a lick during that time. He's still the same guy who just loves the games. And I remember asking him about the fight sounds, the battle sounds that the Bretons would make during Morrowind. And he was like, well, they're more magicians, they're wizards, they're a little more feet. They probably don't like to get into the battle. So when they got hit with swords, they screamed like little bitches. Well, as it turns out, Jake, people who were playing as Bretons didn't like the fact that they were screaming like little bitches when they got hit with broadswords. And I remember reading on Reddit, somebody was like, I'm doing a mod to replace the battle sounds for Wes Johnson because my mage needs to sound as testosterone laden as I know he is. And I'm like, oh God, okay. Frankly, Jake, you and I both know that if we were to be chased and hit with a broadsword, we would squeal. We would squeal like little girls and run, right?
Sounds about right. I'd probably try to mask it if I was hit by a sword or an arrow. It probably would sound like, ah! I mean,
Right,
oh.
right. There's never any, oh, that's one for you, now mine. That would not be me. I'd get hit with an arrow up in the shoulder, and it would be like, immediately soil myself and run for cover. That's it. I'm not going to say that I'm cowardly, but no, I don't like people shooting anything at me. So, or broadswords or anything of that nature. However, I learned a lesson from that. And the lesson is in every person you voice, they are the hero of their own story. And when you're playing, you need to be the hero of your story. So when I went back and voiced for Oblivion and I became all the Imperials, I remembered here there are two differences. One, the feedback I got from people who didn't like the more realistic sound of them getting hit with swords. Two, I played about 800 hours of Morrowind. I got so into the game that I would dream in that world when I finally went to sleep, you know? And I used that world in my mind, in my vision, as I was voicing Oblivion. And it really, I think, enhanced the way I did these things. So playing as the Imperial Guards and doing all those battle sounds, which did sound very manly, very fighty, very, I knew this is what you wanted. This is what, when you're playing and you're fighting and you're battling, you don't need anything to break your immersion and take you out of it. You want to be in the middle of it. And the extra added benefit for that, Jake, is when I played my several hundred hours of Oblivion, I played as an Imperial, and all the effort and fight sounds were actually me, which is kind of cool.
Anyone and everyone I speak to, they always have great things to say about Oblivion. Even when there are some people who kind of who jokingly tease Oblivion, saying like, "Oh, some of the voice acting's kind of weird," but I think like everyone agrees that best voice in that game, Wes Johnson, the Imperials, hands down.
I loved doing it. I had so many sessions for that game, and I unfortunately did something that it contributed to me working less hours on many games after that. And that was when Mark Lampert, who is the audio director, great guy, wonderful guy. And he's on the other side of the glass, and he goes, "This one character, I don't know, he seems a little more dark. He's a little more dark, a little more macabre. His name is Lucian LeChance. Maybe we should do something different with him." And I did. And I started visualizing this character with a gaunt face and a hunched back and this look as he's looking out from under his eyes at you, Jake Pa, dear child of Sithis. And I thought of long, stringy hair and a hood and the whole thing. And I voiced this character and loved doing something completely different. And it did make him stand out from the other race characters who all pretty much sounded the same. Now, that being said, I never saw what the finished artwork was going to look like. So when they drew and brought Lucian LeChance to life, they made him gorgeous. He's like this really handsome, gorgeous guy with a heart of evil, and women are going, "Oh, well, that's the perfect man, right? Heart of evil, gloriously good looking." No, so I've gotten used to the way Lucian looks over the thing, but that's the thing with voice acting. You visualize who you're playing, sometimes without ever actually seeing what they're going to be. But you have to have that image in your own mind and in your own heart to keep it consistent. And Lucian, Shea Gorath, these are characters that I took pains to create differently and to bring to life in different ways, and they're very near and dear to my heart. Same with Hermaeus Mora.
Did you expect any of these characters to become, well, such fan favorites? Especially, again, like you say, with Lucian LeChance and Monsieur Gorath, and heck, even the Imperial Guards and their erratic behavior combined with, of course, the jump scare of them shouting in your face about, "You violated the law!"
And I had no idea that there would be memes, there would be Imperial Guard songs, there would be people taking Shea Gorath's voice and sampling it and calling pizza shops all over the country and the world trying to order cheese pizza and making it nearly impossible for me to order a cheese pizza later on. "Oh, you're that recording." No, no, I'm not. I'm just me, just trying to order myself some pizza. But those I think were hysterical. They even did a Shea Gorath rap album cutting things up. Now, this is all using the actual audio. I don't approve of anybody trying to take or sample my voice using AI and creating something completely different out of the cloth from it. That's a different creature altogether. But I found the amusement in the Imperial Guard songs and Zoom and things of that sort. Even some of the soundboard things and the memes all made me laugh. I thought they were great.
It's wonderful to hear that you managed to kind of check them all out and get a good laugh at them. It's, again, as you say, especially the songs and the YouTube poop kind of mashup videos where they kind of mangle together different lines from the NPCs, so they start talking like blithering nonsense and like some clever clogs. I forgot the uploader's name, creating Amazon Alexa kind of video and then dubbing over the Imperial Guard lines over it. So it's like, Alexa, what's the time? 12 of the morning's watch and all's well.
I haven't heard that. I'd love to try that. I love doing the thing for E3 that one year that Keegan-Michael Key was in. And I got to voice it. I was privileged enough to be able to voice it, which was the thing about Skyrim, how it's been ported over to everything, including the Amazon Alexa. And what I discovered later was it's true. It's actually on there. So if you have one of those, and here, let me see. I wonder if this will pick this up. Alexa, play Skyrim.
Welcome back to Skyrim, adventurer. You were standing at a crossroads deciding where to go. In one direction is a Nord village, in the other is an abandoned tower. Where would you like to go?
Alexa, stop. So
Safe travels, adventurer.
Thank you. I could sit there. If you have an Alexa in the restroom, it's endless games. You don't even need to bring a magazine. You just go on a quest.
Fun for the whole family.
Yeah. But the E3 bit was so funny, and that was a funny bit. So we've had a lot of fun with it over the years, and why not? I think Bethesda does have a good sense of humor about itself, and that's important. William Shatner figured that out along the way and made himself even bigger than he was to begin with.
So, talking, of course, a bit more about Bethesda's games and other kind of creations, would you say there have been any particular moments or lines that you performed as any of the characters, any of the Daedric gods, or the Imperial Guards, or the announcer of the arena, or anything like that? Anything that has stood out to you?
For me personally, it's the emotional moments, like Shea Gorth towards the end of the quest in Shivering Isles, when things start happening to him, and you see the sort of the hubris and the puff it up nature of him start to slip, and the vulnerability start to show, and then even some fear. I love there's a line that Lucian has when you ask him about rumors. Do you know any rumors? And Lucian is like, I don't spread rumors, dear child. I create them, which made me sad when Knights of the Nine DLC came out and it got overwritten with another one of my more generic voices going, there's a prophet down by the town. It's like, no, don't overwrite that line. It's my favorite line.
Bethesda and their many bugs and glitches, that was definitely something that everyone who downloaded the add-on and wanted to hear, it's like, yeah, let's hear that line, and then just hearing that again, like, oh no!
Right?
Yeah.
I love Mo Cronin from Diamond City. I love when you tell him that he's a dumbass, that's not how baseball was played, and he's like, I like my version better.
Speaking of which, let's segue into a bit more about Fallout. So, again, could you tell us more about your experiences in Fallout? Mr. Burke of Fallout 3, Mo Cronin, the Silver Shroud of Fallout 4, the Protectrons of Fallout 76, and of course those pesky super mutants coming back for more action. Tell us more about your experiences with voicing these characters.
I win again!
I loved playing Fox. Fox was one of the sweatiest sessions I ever did. Fox, Uncle Leo, all the super mutants. I smell humans, which I like to use when I'm on elevators or on metro trains. It keeps the seat to yourself. It really does. But I just love a lot of the stuff about Fallout. I used to play the games Fallout 1 and 2, the top-down turn-based versions, and thought that they were engrossing and hysterical. I loved the style of them. And then getting a chance to do Fallout 3, being all the super mutants, getting a chance to play all the sentry bots and the Protectrons. And the Protectrons are all me with the way they speak. Let's have a nice, refreshing Nuka-Cola. So I love playing those characters. Scribe Bigsley from Broken Steel and Mr. Burke, they said, we'd like you to do him as almost a Lucien LeChance style character. And I said, well, I can do the range, but whereas Lucien LeChance of the Dark Brotherhood has a slight accent and more macabre, Mr. Burke has that. but he's more straightforward. I want you to blow this cesspool megaton off the map. So the voice is still there. Mr. Tenpenny and I would like an arrangement with you, Jake Parr. Don't let us down. Now, if you play as Jake Parr, you're never going to get the love letters from Mr. Burke. But if you play as a female character, you will get love letters from Mr. Burke. And oh, yes, they are disturbing. They are disturbing. In fact, somebody asked me a while back to record some of those, and I think I did, and I think I might have put them online somewhere. They're out there, and it's really, you don't want this guy with the bald head and the fedora hat and the glasses and the wrinkly suit following you around, telling you of our love that's destined together. That's stalky, man.
But I wouldn't be surprised if there was some twisted Fallout fans out there who did listen to those audios and read those messages and thought, oh, Mr. Burke, my love. Yes, I will blow up this town for you.
Well, there's somebody for everybody. I mean, there is a whole faction out there who really like Scribe Bigsley from Broken Steel, who is just the most narcissistic, exhausted, irritable, sarcastic, somebody you'd never want to work with. And yet they've written fan fiction about him as the hero. In fact, some people have sent me fan fiction over the years, Jake. And one person, I stopped reading it when someone said, I'd like you to read the story I wrote. And I said, oh, okay, well, sure, send it on over. It was a story about Shea Gorath and Lucien LeChance, and man, did it get steamy. And I thought to myself, these are both me. This is me on me action. That's like my high school years. I don't need to read this.
Yeah, that's the weird part of every fandom, summed up quite well in a nutshell, methinks.
It's very interesting. I remember back when Anne Rice, who's no longer with us, but in the day, would get very crazy about the fan fiction and didn't want people to do the fan fiction because they got so involved in their own versions of the fan fiction. By the time her books came out, they're like, that's not the way it goes. It's like, yeah, it is. This is the official book. This is the way it goes. Yours was the fan fiction. There was some of the stuff got so crazy that I even wrote a 2-pager fan fiction to send into the group, this one group back in the day, that was totally sarcastic, totally made fun of everything they wrote. It was of Armand's Pizzeria. And I sent it in, and it made me laugh out loud reading it. And people ended up loving it and taking it seriously for what it was, which wasn't what it was. It was meant to be. Anyway, people read what they want to read into things, Jake.
That's true. That's true. People will take whatever they can from any piece of media, especially the Fallout series, for example, kind of walk away with their own peculiar interpretations and that kind of.
But the thing there, you can do that now with things like Fallout 76, where you create your own worlds and your own communities, and you are, in fact, creating the lore on your own in your own game. So, I mean, in a way, it's kind of, it's not even fan fiction there. It crosses over into official, right? And people who do mods, some of the mods have been picked up. If you look at the 10-year anniversary of Skyrim, and some of the mods that people put together were so good, the community mods, they've added them to the game. So you don't even have to go out and look for them. They're in the game.
And again, it's a testament to the sheer creativity of not only Elder Scrolls fans, but also the Fallout fan base as well. Very, very creative people, like scarily creative and imaginative.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I can't do mods because I'm an official voice actor for the games, and I also am with the union, so I can't normally do mods. But I got permission to do one recently with some folks because we're doing the Alzheimer's charity, the Voice-a-Palooza, and it's at Fallout for Hope, Twitter, and we have been raising this year so far because of the gamers and the streamers around the world who have joined us as our team. We've raised over $35,000 for Alzheimer's relief. And over the past 3 years, we've raised over $100,000. So it's been wonderful working with folks. And I did this one mod that's now out there that people can play for free. That being said, look at the people who are creating the mods. You've got the Sky Oblivion over on the Elder Scrolls side. You've got Fallout London, which is going to be coming out. And a lot of these people who are putting these together, some of them end up getting jobs working with the companies themselves, because it's kind of like in football and baseball, you have the minor leagues that people work in and move up. Voice actors as well get a chance to do these mods and get a chance to build their resumes, and then they can get heard, and then they can get work on the bigger games. It's, I think, a wonderful system. Unfortunately, with AI, some of those opportunities for new people to break in are going to be taken away, because somebody's going to want to just take a fake voice and type it in on the keyboard, not work with actors at all. And I think that strips away the soul. That strips away the soul and the artistry of the craft. I think it's, if it continues on that way, Skynet's going to turn our creatives into a barren landscape.
As a fellow voice actor, I'm going to definitely agree with you there. I think, honestly, it'd be far better to have a person record, put all their emotion, all their effort into, let's say, even if it's just like a cheap, rubbish kind of microphone, would much rather have that than have some kind of software kind of badly emulate human emotion and kind of just get that kind of mangled and shoved into a mod. It just doesn't.
You never get
right.
surprises with something like that either.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, if you get a chance to play Elder Scrolls Online in the Gold Road, and you go on the Scribe quest and you go on the Netch quest, you're going to meet this new character of mine, Johannes Verlaine, and Johannes Verlaine. And it was so emotional doing it and working with D.B. Cooper, who was the director, and we did this tango together, building this character. And it hit me where I live. It hit me where I live, and people are reacting very emotionally to it as well. See, if I don't feel it, then you don't feel it, Jake. But a computer never feels it, and it's going to suck that out of us. We don't want that.
The emotion, the feeling, the love, the hatred, the intrigue, the cheekiness, all these things cannot be replicated by a machine. Absolutely not. Like, it can only vaguely kind of dance around these sorts of things. I mean, have you ever heard an AI give a convincing kind of a chortle and a laugh before angrily shouting in your face? Not really. I mean,
it's still sort of hollow and soulless. Yeah. I mean, even the Protectron robots, which I voice and throw in all the wavering, and then people are like, oh, what computer program did you use to do that? None. They throw a little buzz on my voice as it is, and that is the Protectron's voice. So even then, it's the humanity behind the voice emulating a robot voice that gives it something different, and we can have a sense of humor in the way the delivery comes about. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get that with AI.
Speaking of course, about Fallout, getting back on topic with some more happy and uplifting kind of questions. Speaking, broadly about Fallout, would you say there have been any other kind of any other favorite lines or favorite moments that really stuck out to you with this series?
With Fallout, I love when you're playing with Fox, and Fox has become pretty much nigh invulnerable after Broken Steel, and you're wandering through the wasteland, and you're standing out there, and Fox looks over to you and he says,
I don't know why the people don't attack me when you are around.
And I end up talking back to my own characters while playing and going, because you killed them all, Fox. You killed them all with a laser Gatling gun. That's not why they're not fighting back. If you ever want to get all of your kills stolen, just take Fox with you and his Gatling gun. I've actually done experiments where you save the game. Everybody does this, by the way. I'm going to save the game because somebody insulted me in this town, and I'm going to murder the whole town, and then I'll come back, and they'll have this look like, what just happened? And you can start again fresh. But with Fox, it's like load yourself up and see after Broken Steel how long it takes you to kill him. It is not easy. You can be there for over an hour with fat boys, and shooting nuclear weapons at him and laser pulse cannons and all sorts of things. Fox will not go down. He is your ever-present, invulnerable, thick-skinned buddy who is still semi-intelligent after the FEV, but is trying to force it all through a gorilla's voice box.
Speaking of super mutants, I heard that apparently you were offered a role for Fallout New Vegas, but you weren't able to actually make that happen. So could you tell us more about what happened exactly?
I never got offered anything for Fallout New Vegas, and I tell you this, if anyone ever came to me from Fallout New Vegas, anyone ever came and asked me, or any of those folks or come back or do it again, I would do it in a heartbeat because I love it and I love them, and I would have loved to have been a part of it. It was just one of those things where it was sort of separate from Bethesda at the time, and it was after Fallout 3, and they wanted to do something that was a little bit different. My feeling was I should have at least done a Protectron robots. I mean, they're all created in the same factory, right? Around the country. So they sound different in New Vegas than they do everywhere else. But I'm just hoping that somebody on the television show thinks, hey, when we do the Protectrons next year sometime, why don't we just bring Wes in and let him do those voices? Because I'd be there in a heartbeat. I will tell you this, Jake, out in public, anything Bethesda or these companies that I've worked to want me to do, I'll be there for them because I love this. You have to love it if you want to do something, anything in this world, and follow your heart. And I absolutely love it. So I would give my heart and soul to be a part of those things.
And that's always wonderful to hear. I mean, I personally, I don't know where I heard the story about Fallout New Vegas, about wanting to get Wes Johnson on board, but we couldn't. I don't know where I heard that.
Maybe it was that short period of time when I was in the witness protection program, but I got over that.
That may or may not have had something to do with me and my usual antics, but my lawyer told me not to tell people more details about that. So let's move on with another question.
Voice, if that is your real name.
You know too much now. Smoke bomb! Okay, anyway. So, have there been any other kind of memorable voice roles that have stood out to you? Any other kind of video games out there, perhaps, come to mind?
I did. I was the Magor Orcs for World of Warcraft. Star Trek games, I got a chance to play a bunch of the Klingons and a bunch of different characters in Star Trek Legacy, and there was another Conquest and things of that sort. I really love doing those, and especially at the very beginning, there's an interesting story in that they had signed all the captains, all the original captains to do their voice for Star Trek Legacy, except William Shatner had not signed. So they came to me, knew that I did an impression of William Shatner, and said, Wes, would you do this for our E3? Now, there are different types of William Shatner, Jake. There is the William Shatner of today, a little slower, but he thinks things through. But then there's Captain James T. Kirk of the Starship Enterprise, back in the day when he was the captain of the Enterprise. Spock, I need your help. Bones, don't tell me he's dead. So they had me do all the voice for William Shatner as Captain James T. Kirk for Legacy, for the stuff, the gameplay stuff they did for E3. And when people went out and played it, they didn't know it wasn't William Shatner, which made me very happy. And they were like, oh, it's all the captains. So then they went back to William Shatner and they played him the E3 footage. And they said, we want you, Bill. We need you in this game. Unfortunately, we'll have to go this way if you're not doing it. And I remember reading a Reuters interview where it was like, they played me this voice, and I couldn't let anyone else be the captain of the Enterprise. I had to sign. So William Shatner signed on. So no one will ever hear that version again that was at E3. And I'm just fine with that because all the captains were in Legacy. It was very cool to play. And I got a chance to be Klingons in that, where I actually had some really cool scenes interacting with Patrick Stewart. Never met him, didn't get to work with him then. I had scenes interacting with him in Oblivion. Yep, it may have been my fault he died, but spoilers, it happens very early. But, to get a chance to work with Sir Pat on a couple of things was just an honor. And I've met William Shatner a couple of times since then. I've given him some things for his charity. I've seen him at some of the cons, and he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. He likes his privacy. He likes his space, but he is actually a fairly friendly fellow. So I did a thing on Funny or Die. Remember Funny or Die? When it was online, it was the Will Ferrell thing. I did a thing called the William Shatner School of Acting, and it was like a badly videotaped thing from Learning Annex, where William Shatner was doing his acting school. And we sent that out. And at one point, I actually, when I put it out and sent it out onto Twitter because it was on Funny or Die, I tagged William Shatner. And I suddenly thought I had this fear as soon as I sent it. I was like, oh my, what have I done? And I was afraid of what he might say. And I got a response. And he says, sounds more like Cagney with a winky emoticon. I thought that is just the best I could ever hope for. I was very happy and pleased about that.
That's brilliant to hear. I got a few interesting anecdotes myself to share if you'd like, which
Hey, share away.
yes, to do with both Star Trek and to do with Shatner, actually. First one was Star Trek Legacy, as you mentioned. I remember like quite a few times when I was younger and my dad would be playing Xbox 360 and he'd be playing this Star Trek game. I was like, all right, so they made a new one, okay. And then I heard your voice just shouting things like, fight, you honorless dogs! And I thought, wait a minute, that's the Imperial voice kind of lines I recognize. They got the same guy, oh my god! That got me a little excited hearing you with that.
That's very cool. Yeah, Imperial Guards in space. Who needs that? I got a chance finally to do the live action version of the Klingons that I've been playing in the games for years. And I'm playing a character named Dr. Valal in a thing called Farragut Forward coming out this summer. Now, it's a Star Trek fan film, but it's the most highly budgeted Star Trek fan film ever. It's based in the 1980s. It looks so fantastic. And in the past, they've had great special guest stars that they brought in for this series. They've done it back in the TOS series. They did it for the animated series, and now they're doing it in the 80s. And back in the day when they were doing the regular series, one of their last big guest star was Stan Lee. They had Tim Russ come in and do stuff for the animated series. And I think Walter Koenig may have been involved early on. So they ended up getting me for this one. So How the Mighty Have Fallen. But I loved playing Dr. Valal. I discovered that the voice I developed for the Klingon had to be readapted because once you put prosthetic teeth in, you can no longer talk normally. It's almost like a ventriloquism puppet making different sounds. But it was fun, man. I had a great time with it. And it's going to be getting its premiere, I think, around July 20th. And then after that, you'll probably be able to see it online.
Ooh, I'm going to be keeping my eyes and ears open for your characters, and I'm sure many other people will as well.
It's a good time. It's a good time. Better Sanctuary, which is coming out at all the festivals. I play a very, very mean man. Such a bad guy that my beard and hair, my hair got to Nick Nolte lengths before I went out to LA to film, and my beard got darkened in a little bit, and I got pulled over by TSA, and they nearly did a cavity search on me. They were not kidding around. So by the time I finished filming and had to trim everything up and came back, they didn't bother me. I looked a lot more respectable. But this was a dark, dark character, and people who see that will be like, "Damn, Wes, you're nasty." So I can't wait for people to see that one as well.
Oh, for sure, for sure. As for the second anecdote, I'd love to share. It's funny you should mention old Shatner, because we have a segment here that I created for the Cyberden on the radio many years ago called Bad Voice Acting in Video Games. So we play, we play sound bites and certain kind of clips from games that we kind of just make jokes and kind of riff on them a little bit. And a recurring game that we have riffed on was a kind of it was William Shatner's Tech War, and based on his TV series that his books that someone ghost wrote for him, and he kind of portrayed his character on the cutscenes, but we always kind of riffed on him because it very much wasn't like it wasn't like classic Shatner portraying Captain Kirk or anything like that. It's more like, I'm going to be reading some poorly written dialogue off these cue cards that you can't see. And if you're going to be going around this game shooting people in this shooting game, a first-person shooter, that's bad. I'm going to threaten you with putting you in the freezer. Like, what are you doing? This is really bad. I'm going to shake my fists. I'd do something to really get at you, but I can't because the developers won't let me. So I'll put you in the freezer if you... And so we just kept, like, for years and
Wow.
years, and Ed just kept riffing on him like, "Oh, Shatner, I'm sorry, mate, fall from grace."
I love also the audio of him just giving that guy such grief that's doing a session with him,
Oh
who
yeah.
gave him a line reading. The guy sounded like Lorenzo music. Mr. Shatner, I'd like you to read it like this. Blah, 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 blah. And then Shatner read it just like the guy said it. You know what, sir? I think the way you did it first was just fine. No, no, I'm going to do it the way you want me to do it. You just go ahead and pop another pill over there, and we'll do everything you want. And when they get a chance to listen to it, we'll see if they like it. He raked that poor guy over the coals.
Absolutely. He can really be a cheeky guy when he wants to, of course.
Remember the Orson Welles Frozen Peas?
Of course, and Maurice LaMarche kind of
Yes.
voiced in Jay Sherman's The Critic, kind of a parody of that, talking about Rosebud. Yes, Rosebud frozen peas, full of country goodness and green penis. Oh, wait, that's terrible. I'm out of here.
Maurice LaMarche and Rob Paulson together are like wonderful. We did our Voice-A-Palooza panel at AwesomeCon, and the two of them read The Odd Couple together as Pinky and the Brain. Hysterical.
If I could have been a fly on the wall when that was going off, I would be a very happy fly on the wall indeed.
It was good times. It was good times.
Considering that you've been at this game for decades, really. You've been acting for decades. So would you say that you still have perhaps any dream roles that you'd still want to have a crack at?
I still want to be in like a Red Dead Redemption game, you know? Well, I'd still like to do a nice Sam Elliott kind of thing in one of them cowboy genres.
I like it. Rockstar, if you're listening, there's actually a Rockstar game development studio here in Lincoln, believe it or not. So hopefully, if Rockstar, if you hear this, if you're hearing this, you know who's a hire.
The Red Dead Redemption has been on my bucket list for a while. I know other voice actors who have done it, and I'm like, jelly.
Definitely Red Dead Redemption. Any others come to mind? Any other title? I mean, it doesn't have to be strictly video games, of course. Any movies?
Anything Doctor Who. I am such the Doctor Who fan. I would love to work with Big Finish. They have my tape. Big Finish has my audio tape in their files. And if they would just reach down in there, pull it out, and ask me to do anything, I would be there in a heartbeat. Or at least I'd be on Source Connect in a heartbeat, and we would record some things. I love. I've been a Doctor Who fan since the Tom Baker days, and I just love where it's going these days. And it's like one of my massive guilty pleasures. I am a nerd and geek from way back. Star Trek, Doctor Who. I was a big Planet of the Apes guy, not necessarily the new Planet of the Apes. I like the old ones where Roddy McDowall had plastic makeup on his face. I used to take action figures when I was a kid and get Play-Doh, and I would build little makeup masks and turn all of the action figures, and including my sister's Barbies, into Planet of the Apes, which she was not appreciative of. Didn't appreciate the artistry one bit.
I can just imagine her kind of looking at you and all these kind of mold kind of faced Barbies. I can just imagine her going, "You maniac, you ruined my Barbie! Damn you! Damn you!"
Yeah, no, it's great. And I did a good job with those too, because I remember watching the documentaries on how they were made. So I made them just like that, little small things, put them together. She walked in, they were like perfect little replicas. Overnight, all of her Barbies had turned into apes. Lovely.
And of course, we can't forget about The Simpsons made Planet of the Apes the musical with that hit song, Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius.
By the way, that's one of my heroes right there, Phil Hartman. You might know me from Planet of the Apes, the musical. He was just the best, just the best.
Absolutely, such a hilarious and really creative guy.
He did a game called Blasto, and I used to play Blasto so much just because I love hearing his voice in it.
It still has a bit of a cult following, funnily enough, and especially because of Phil Hartman's performance being a big aspect of that.
It's a huge aspect of it. It has the most unfortunate line in there where he's like, ooh, headshot, horrible way to go. which is just like, oh no. But I ignore that and move on because he's just the guy. Everything he did exuded life. You know what I mean? Joy. It exuded joy.
Speaking of joy, I actually wanted to talk a bit more about you with about the many kind of video game conventions you've been on, and if there have been any fond memories. Because I know that recently you went on a rather interesting King Kong cruise, I believe.
The King Kong cruise is the best of the best. I mean, that's John St. John. First of all, John St. John, the voice of Duke Nukem, is one of my dearest friends. I just love that guy. And we go down and I've been doing all of his cruises. We do a Voice of Palooza panel on there. We go out to Nassau. We hit the fish fries. We go to the pirate rum factories. It's just a lovely time. And then you spend 5 days on a boat. And the cool thing about that convention and going on that one is a lot cheaper than you would think, especially if you've ever paid for a hotel at a convention. Basically, you're paying less than you would pay at a hotel, and you're getting 3 meals, and you're traveling to the Bahamas, and you hang out with us like all the time. Whereas at a convention, you get to talk to the video game voice actors for like 30 seconds and they move you on, And in this instance, we're on a boat together for 5 days. We hang, we eat dinner together, we chill. I've made friends amongst my fans and the fans of John and the fans of Ellen McLean and John Patrick Lowry and everybody who's been on that cruise. It's just wonderful. But I love everyone I've been at. Awesome Con in DC, one of my favorite cons. I'm probably going to go to Twin Cities Con in November. I love going out to see fans and hang with them. And I do bring my Wabajack when I can and do epic photos with people in full Shea Gorath regalia. I'll even put the contacts in. So it's been a blast. I really do enjoy it. And that's the thing. You spend all this time in a booth by yourself creating these characters. When you finally get a chance to get out and meet people who've actually played the game and you've spent more time in their living room than their family, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And most everybody has been real copacetic, and I've loved it. And I've loved doing my Voice of Palooza panel where we go out and I get all the different voice actors to do movies and songs. And we create a video game live from your suggestions, taking quotes that you write down and do all of these things in video game voices. And it's usually an hysterical train wreck and just so much fun,
And again, someday I'm going to be jumping on one of these conventions to be able to shake your hand, especially King Kong Cruise. I know my very good buddy, composer chum Lee Jackson, composer for Duke Nukem 3D, Shadow Warrior, and more.
Yeah. Lee's been on several of the cruises, and if you go there, you got to go to his panel and listen to his everything he's done, and you'll just be floored. It's amazing. Oh, also went to the Elder Scrolls Online 10th anniversary in Amsterdam recently. So I did get a chance to come out to the UK, and it was glorious. It was wonderful. Being in Amsterdam, as fun as it is, but then once you walked in the doors, they'd completely transformed everything as if you were walking into Tamriel. They had sweet rolls. They had all sorts of things set up. People were throwing axes. They had battles that you could get in with armor. It was just a wonderful experience, and I had a grand time there. Grand time.
Now that sounds like a convention done right, that's for sure. And funny you should mention Lee. Lee, very good friend of mine. He listens to the show almost weekly. He made the theme song for my show, and I helped him out with his last panel that he did, I think it was a handful of months ago when the last King Kong cruise took place. I helped him out with that.
Was there at that panel? You were the one who helped him put it together.
Yeah, I helped out with hunting down video game tracks, and there was another aspect that he was going to kind of implement into it, but he had to cut quite a bit of it down, you see, because time constraints. But I definitely helped out. So as John St. John said when I kind of revealed that to him, he said, like, a part of you, Jake the Voice, was on King Kong Cruise.
Bring the whole of you, Jake the Voice.
Hopefully. I just need the money. First it's flying over to the US, and then getting on the boat. Double the money to spend. Oh boy.
How that goes. Life is what happens while you're busy making other plans, right?
Well said. I'll probably just have to rob a few banks, and hopefully I can make that happen.
Just make sure you're out of the country before they realize it was you.
Exactly. Then I'll.
You'll be back, Jake the Voice, but at least you'll always have the Bahamas.
I certainly hope so. And when I go back, Jake the Voice is no longer in the UK. Instead, say hello to Miguel Sanchez. That's me, folks. Anyway, I've got quite a serious question here, and by all means, use this opportunity to plug as much as you can in terms of course, your charity work, especially with Alzheimer's charities. Why specifically charities for fighting Alzheimer's? Please tell us more.
Well, I lost my mother and my grandmother to Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And losing somebody before you lose them is just the worst thing in the world. And before I even knew of the Alzheimer's Association, I had to go through all that pain and all that suffering, and it tears families apart. Having discovered Alzheimer's Association and that you could go to alz.org any time of the day or night, and they have a 24/7 hotline you can call that will give you information on where you can go, what you can do, and find somebody who understands, would have made a world of difference to me. And they're working hard to try to get cures. Right now, they just had the FDA last week passed a new drug that if you can take it early enough, will help keep you and retain your memories for longer. And that's all you're asking for is little time. And so we decided we were tired of losing, of feeling helpless, and we were going to fight back. And between me and Kenneth Vigu, who works with Fallout for Hope and is just one of the best humans on the planet, we decided we were going to do something because he's lost folks to Alzheimer's as well. And my Voice of Palooza, which has been my panel dedicated to fun at all the different conventions, suddenly became the umbrella for this charity. So if you go to voiceofpalooza.com, you can look up more information about the charity. And if you wanted to stream, we're still doing it through the end of the month. You could stream, you could donate, you could add to it, because every little penny, the amount of a cup of coffee, when you multiply it by the different gamers and streamers around the world, really adds up and really does a lot of good. In this world, we see the darkness, but bringing the light is more important. Shining the light and being a light to other folks and helping other people get out of the most difficult times of their life is super important. So anybody wants to reach out to voiceofpalooza.com, make a donation, join our team of streamers, or just share. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm Wes Johnson Voice. I'm Wes Johnson on Instagram. And I put these things out, all the different panels we've done. We've had voiceover actors. We do radio programs. If you go to YouTube right now, you can hear the radio program we did last year, which was based on Fallout 4. And we had all the original voice actors back. Stephen Russell as Nick Valentine. We had Courtney Taylor as the Soul Survivor Nora. We had Matthew Mercer. We had Peter Jessup. We had so many folks. We had John Bailey, who came in as the Mechanist. And then we had people, because the worlds began to split and merge, we had people like John St. John, Ellen McLean. We had Jim Ferranda. We had the guy from Christmas Story, Zach. It was remember him? He played Scott Farkas.
I interviewed him. Yeah, Zach Ward. Yeah, I interviewed him a few months ago.
He's a terrific actor, man. The guy is just killing it these days. He's got a new movie that's going to be coming out soon on Netflix that he wrote and directed. You're going to want to check that out. But Zach joined us, and we're going to be doing new radio programs. But the one last year was called Death Shroud. And it's on there. It's like a 2-hour radio program built in the world of Fallout. So if you want to just put that on and drive along after you've heard all of your Jake Parr, driving down the road, listening to Death Shroud, and you even get to see everybody in their Zoom studios acting along with it, which is pretty cool. But we have 2 more that we're going to be working and having by the end of the month that are going to come out. And the mod is out now for people to play, and you can still donate money to voiceofpalooza.com. And trust me, none of it gets seen by us. We don't see the money. It goes through Tiltify and goes directly to the Alzheimer's Association, where it can do the most good, and it can help people who are suffering, whether it be the people suffering from Alzheimer's, whether it be the caregivers who are trying to hold everything together, or it be the scientists who are working tirelessly to come up with a cure. You can make a difference. And we're having fun for funds. And we've been doing it for a little while now, and we'll continue to do it as long as necessary. And I can't wait for the day when it's not, when we finally have a cure.
Well, until that day comes, I certainly hope that all the many fans out there are going to be fighting the good fight, throwing whatever cash they can, and spreading the word, because I think this is absolutely a fantastic way of getting this spread around, spreading awareness, and of course, spreading hope, especially hope.
Yeah. You're not helpless. You're not alone. We're all out here and we're all behind you, and we've been there. We understand.
Exactly. Now, let's lift up the interview a bit. I always like to ask this question near the closing of the interview, something quite light-hearted. So, raising money when you're not voice acting, when you're not acting on the camera, all these kind of things. How do you, personally, like to relax?
As a pet futon, I basically get a blanket, throw it over my lap. My dog comes in, uses it as a hammock, and dares me to move or get up because she looks so comfortable and so happy and so betrayed when I have to get up and use the facilities or go, to bed or go do a job. She's just like, why? We've only been doing this for 6 hours. Why? I do love hanging out with my boys. I love hanging out with my friends. I love going out to dinner with folks and telling stories and regaling each other with fine descriptions of where we've been, what we want in life. And I like to keep things positive, Jake, because we've all had bad things in our life. We've all had sad moments. But the fact of the matter is, you can still look forward to the world optimistically. You can still hope that the stupid people don't win. The stupid people will still think they won, but, basically live for your joy. Let other people live for their joy. My feeling is you do what you want for a living. You follow your dreams. You love who you want. These are all you. That's what freedom is really about. Not the freedom to tell other people to live a life the way you want to live it, the way you think it should be lived. I don't think you need to get in line for somebody else to make them feel uncomfortable with any kind of preconceived notions they may have on what life should be. Because frankly, life should be what each and every individual wants it to be. Because that's their world. That's their reality. And who are we to tell them that they are wrong? Nope. Everybody has their own big bag of neuroses we're born with. Concern yourself with your own. Don't point at anybody else's. It doesn't make yours disappear when you look at somebody else and go, you got a big bag of neuroses. Oh, what's that in your hand? No. Anybody who does that and wants to control somebody else is obviously a little insecure with their own situation. The cure is to be, secure with your situation and who you are. Never apologize for who you are. Never apologize for who you love. Never apologize for what you want to do in life, for your dreams, because they are your dreams, nobody else's. And move forward, follow your joy, but let your head set the directions.
And on those heartwarming and thought-provoking nuggets of advice and messages, let me just say, Wes, it's been an absolute blast getting you on board, so thank you so much for coming to this interview.
Thank you for your patience in trying to wrangle me down, Jake.
Pleasure's all mine. So, anything else you would like to say to your many, many fans out there?
Just want to say, cheese for everyone! Wait, no, scratch that. Cheese for no one. Well, it's just as lovely a radio show if you don't like cheese, no.
And I'd personally like to thank all of my wonderful cheeses, my wonderful listeners out there, for tuning into another great interview right here on the Cyber Den. So Wes, let me just say, stay safe, good luck out there with all the fundraising, and drunk with madness. Madness for all!
Fare thee well, ta-ta, till next time.
Oh, well, it's Shea Agora, Daedric, Prince of Madness, and you're listening to Jake the Voice on the Cyber Den. You should be. And if you're not, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Ta-ta.